Welcome to Interview Mock Lab. Today we're doing a deep dive into 10 key things you can actually say in a job interview. Things that can seriously increase your chances of success.
hmm
Think of it maybe as a bit of an inside track,
Yeah.
right, to making that strong impression.
Exactly. And, having sat on the hiring side of the table quite a bit, I can tell you these aren't just polite throwaway lines. They really connect with what hiring managers are genuinely looking for.
Okay.
So, yeah, our goal today is to unpack these, understand why they work, and, how you can use them effectively.
Great. So let's jump right in. First up is the power of just, well, saying thank you.
Hmm.
Specifically starting with something like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be interviewed for this position today. Seems like basic manners.
It is basic manners, you're right, but it's actually more significant than you might think.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, it immediately kind of sets a tone. Gratitude, professionalism, right from the start. Think about it. An interview is stressful, right? Taking that second to show appreciation shows self-awareness, respect for the interviewer's time.
Okay.
It subtly signals you're appreciative, not like entitled.
Mhm.
And that little bit of positive connection, it can honestly smooth the way for the whole conversation.
That makes sense, like starting any meeting on the right foot, really.
Precisely.
All right, number two is about showing genuine interest. Like you've researched the company and you actually want to work there, maybe long term. How important is that from your perspective as the hiring manager?
Oh, it's huge. Absolutely huge. We're not just, filling a vacant chair.
Right.
We're looking for someone who's genuinely excited about what we do, where the company's heading. So when a candidate says, look, I've researched you, I like what you're doing, I see myself contributing here long term, it tells me they're invested.
Invested. Okay.
Yeah. It means they didn't just, blast out 100 generic applications. They made a specific choice to apply here. And that usually means they'll be more motivated, more engaged if they join. It speaks to commitment, maybe even cultural fit.
Got it. Okay, point three moves on to flexibility and adaptability. This is often mentioned as a strength, right? Being willing to do tasks maybe outside the job description or work extra hours sometimes. What's your take?
Honestly, it's like a breath of fresh air sometimes.
Oh.
Because, look, the workplace today, it's always changing, isn't it? Things shift. We need people who can adapt, who aren't rigidly stuck in their defined box.
Sure.
Hearing someone say maybe something like, my strengths, well, I'm pretty flexible. I can adapt, in terms of my role, happy to pitch in where needed. And yeah, I'm flexible with hours too, if it helps the team or the company operations. That just signals a proactive, team-first kind of attitude.
So not just doing the bare minimum.
Exactly. Willing to contribute to the bigger picture. Hugely valuable.
Definitely. Okay, point four. This is about explicitly connecting your skills to the job description. Saying, I've read it and my skills match what you need. How best to phrase that?
Yeah, the key here is being direct and clear. Don't make the interviewer guess.
Right.
So if you're asked, like, why should we hire you? A really strong answer connects the dots. Something like, well, I've carefully read the job description, and my experience in, say, project management and data analysis directly lines up with the key requirements you've listed. Because of that, I'm confident I can step in and make a positive impact pretty quickly.
Okay. So you're doing the work for them, making the connection obvious.
You got it. Shows you've done your homework and you understand what the role actually needs.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, number five touches on future plans. The classic, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Question. The suggestion here is to talk about becoming an expert within the company and maybe even training new people later on. How does that land?
It lands really well, generally, because it shows you're thinking beyond just, month one. It suggests ambition, yes, but ambition tied to this company. A desire for growth, for mastery, and a long-term view. Someone saying, in 5 years, I hope to still be here, maybe in this role with more responsibility, or perhaps having moved up. I'd aim to be seen as like an expert in my area, someone who could potentially help train new team members.
Okay.
That shows leadership potential, investment in our success, not just their own. It frames it as a career, not just a job.
That's a good distinction. But how do you gauge if that's genuine? Point six talks about backing it up with achievements, mentioning your track record and how you can replicate success. What makes an achievement really stand out to you?
Specifics,
Thanks for that.
absolutely specifics, and ideally quantifiable results.
Quantifiable. Okay.
Yeah, instead of just, I'm a high achiever, that's fine, but vague.
Yeah.
Better to say something like, one thing that makes me stand out is my track record. For example, in my last role at Company X, I led a project that improved customer retention by, say, 15% in 6 months. I did this by implementing Y strategy. I believe my skills in relevant area could bring similar results here.
Ah, so concrete evidence. Like,
Yeah.
here's what I did, here's the result.
Exactly. It moves from claims to proof, shows real capability that's relevant to our challenges.
Got it. Okay, number 7. This one feels potentially bold. At the end of the interview, saying you have a 30, 60, 90-day plan and offering a copy. Impressive? Or maybe a bit much.
Huh. Yeah, I get that hesitation. It really depends on the delivery, you know?
How so?
If it comes across as arrogant, like, I've got it all figured out, then yeah, maybe too much. But if it's presented thoughtfully, like, thank you again for your time today. I've actually been thinking about how I'd approach the first few months if I were fortunate enough to get this role, and I've sketched out a preliminary 30, 60, 90-day outline. Would you be interested in seeing it?
Okay, softer approach.
Exactly. It shows incredible initiative, preparation, enthusiasm. It makes it crystal clear they're serious and already visualizing themselves succeeding in the role. Done right, it's very impressive.
Okay, noted. Now, the classic weakness question. Point 8 advises picking something not critical to the job and, crucially, framing it as something you're working on. Can you give an example of how that sounds good in practice?
Sure. A common and often effective one is something like, well, one area I'm working on is sometimes I find it hard to say no when colleagues ask for help. I tend to jump in, which occasionally leads to me being a bit overcommitted.
Right.
However, and this is the key part, I'm very aware of this now, so I'm actively working on assessing my own workload and capacity before immediately saying yes, ensuring I can still deliver on my core responsibilities effectively.
Ah, okay. So it's honest, shows self-awareness, but also shows you're taking action.
Precisely. The weakness itself isn't usually a deal breaker, and the focus is on growth and proactivity. That's what we want to see.
Makes sense. Point 9 deals with a why are you leaving your current job question.
Er,
The advice is focus on seeking a new challenge, be positive, avoid any negativity about your old boss or company. Why is avoiding negativity so critical here?
Oh, it's a huge red flag if someone starts bad-mouthing a previous employer. Huge.
Really? Why is that?
Well, a few reasons. One, it just comes across as unprofessional. Two, it makes us wonder, what was their role in the situation? And three, honestly, we think, well, if they talk about their last boss like that, how will they talk about us someday?
Ah, okay. Future implications.
Exactly. So keeping it positive and forward-looking is key. Something like, I'm looking to leave because I'm really ready for a fresh challenge, and I'm excited about the kind of projects and growth opportunities available at a company like yours. My current employer has been good, but I feel I'm ready for the next step in my career, and I hope it can be here.
Keeps the focus on the future and this opportunity.
Right. Professional, positive, aspirational, much better.
Got it. And finally, point 10. Asking insightful questions at the end. We always hear ask questions, but what kind of questions actually impress you?
Good questions. Show you've been listening, you're engaged, and you're thinking seriously about the role.
So not just what are the benefits?
Haha. Well, maybe save that for later. No, I mean questions like, could you tell me a bit more about the team I'd be working with? Or what would success look like in this role, say, 12 months from now?
Okay.
Or even, what would you say are the top 3 priorities for the person in this role in the first few months? These show you're trying to understand the context, the expectations, how you'd fit in and contribute. Generic questions, they don't really add much. Thoughtful questions, they leave a really positive final impression.
So it sounds like pulling all this together, these 10 points, they aren't just lines to feed an interviewer, they actually reflect a strategic way of thinking about the interview.
That's exactly it. They demonstrate preparation, thoughtfulness, genuine interest, and a focus on adding value.
Right.
It's about showing the hiring manager that you understand what they're looking for and that you're not just seeking a job, but this specific opportunity to make a contribution.
So, for you listening, think about how you can weave these ideas, these approaches, into your own interview style. Maybe tailor them to the jobs you're going for. Perhaps consider which one of these 10 points feels like it could make the biggest difference for you next time you're in that interview chair.
Yeah, that self-reflection is key. It's about authenticity, too. Using these ideas in a way that feels natural to you.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a really insightful look into what resonates from the other side of the desk. Thanks for sharing that perspective.
My pleasure. Happy to help people navigate the interview process a bit better.